Today, a quick video about crickets and bugs. I keep mentioning in my videos how there's this whole sentiment that crickets are the protein of the future and we're gonna eat bugs and so on and so forth. And you see celebrities advertising this kind of stuff. There's lots of companies that are getting into the cricket protein and so on and so forth. And there are people who still think that this is just some bizarre nonsense or whatnot. But one thing that made me want to do the video is actually interesting because the conditioning starts so early that it's amazing. I'm not surprised, but I had never played board games in my life. And yesterday I was playing a board game with a friend of mine and his kid. And it's just, that entire game was just, I was just constantly processing how it gets these things get sipped into the culture where the generation grows up and it's just so normal for them. And this is what I'm talking about. So it was this game, the game of life. And I'm not going to go over the details of the game, but you start either going to college or starting straight into, getting right into workforce. And if you go to college, you make more money, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of interesting concepts as you're working through, just kind of seeing how they've thought what life is. But what grabbed my attention was this card. So, start a cricket farm. Insects are the protein of the future. Pay $30K to the bank. So, what's interesting about this to me is it may seem so innocent, right? Because it's just a card out of many that you draw, but this is conditioning. This is just sipping into the brain of the player, right? So if you have a bunch of kids and they're playing this game and without adult supervision, or the adult doesn't think anything of these are those elements of conditioning. I'm not a parent, so I'm not giving parenting advice by any means, but it's just fascinating because they always start with the kids, right? With schools, with what, so on. I had never played a board game, and it's even in the freaking board game. Insects are the protein of the future. So that, and then of course I looked up this Hasbro gaming company because I was obviously curious, where does that come from? And of course, I'm not surprised that one, it's a freaking 100-year-old company, but what's interesting, or what I was almost expecting, because that's how easy it is to start noticing these things, is who the owners are. And the largest owners are the Vanguard Group, the CRG Investors, and BlackRock. Surprise, surprise. Just the same few corporations, they just run everything. And I do want to play a few clips of the celebrities, and from not just recently it's come more and more, but then it's been again like slowly coming up to put this into your brain pretty much.
Fangs out.
Yeah. Have you done this before?
Yeah. I think it's always been a part of the diet, the bugs, but then I think there is a truth to the survival during the war. Of course, when people were being starved, they were able to survive on things like this, and they did.
When was the first time?
And this is important, what she's actually saying. People will do anything to survive. There's such thing as cannibalism. When you have nothing else to do and you're starving, people eat each other. So doesn't mean that should be normalized or it's good. Just because during war people were starving and they had to eat shit, pardon my French, to survive, doesn't mean that is something that we can promote. to eat. This is absolute insanity. That's when the human has lost all dignity and will revert to just about anything for survival. That shouldn't be the default human condition. You should have some respect for yourself. You should reject this kind of crap. I have so many friends who will be like, "Oh, I'll try it. I don't mind." It's not about the bug itself. It's about you being a human, dignified human, and not allowing forces who want to put a boot on your face to actually do it. They want to stomp on you to make you feel so small. And sooner we understand that these small things are not very small. These are quite big, actually. This is how it starts. We all have heard, when you give an inch, they take a mile. I mean, there is a point where you gotta draw a line. Because how many miles can be taken until, well, you want to wait until your absolute last livelihood, everything is being taken from you, then you wake up and realize, how did we get there? No, this is part of it. This is a step. And people need to start drawing a line, for crying out loud. So that's Angelina Jolie. She goes over and they cook it and they eat it. It's great. That's an appropriate response. He shouldn't have even eaten to begin with, but that's more of an appropriate response.
Right.
What is that?
Well, that's an insect.
By the way, there's a lot of compilations online that I just picked one of them to look into. This one is by Film Gob, just to give credit. I don't know how these things work.
Based premium protein. It's made from Molitor, which is mealworm larvae. This is a powder derived from the mealworm, and it's a insect protein just been approved by the EU for human consumption.
It's just a protein supplement?
Exactly.
I can put this in a smoothie or something?
I'm telling you, yep, and they'll be making all kinds of stuff out of it. And by the way, it is the making of it is severely reducing the amount of emissions it takes. It is a
Ugh, it's hard to watch. Here's another one.
These are grasshopper kebabs. I have
try
plenty
it.
for everyone.
You try? You don't have to. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Yes, Silas. It's all right, right?
These are ants on a log with ants. Increases sexual activity.
I always wondered how Americans, because I've been here, 23 years, but where I came from, people would not eat raw, slimy, disgusting looking things. I'm insulting half of the country right now. But I always wondered, how did these oysters and mussels and a lot of the slimy sea creatures that are disgusting came into our plates? Probably very similarly. I've never had any of those. I love fish, of course, or lobsters, anything that has actual meat. But, you know, oysters? Come on. Ugh.
So it goes in like that, right? It's straight in?
Yep. Nice.
Cheers! Down the hatch, here we go.
I am here to reveal my hidden talent, eating micro livestock, cornworms. They're still alive.
It's funny because if you recognize very like micro mimics and stuff, I can almost sense how she wishes she didn't have to do this, but she's obviously getting paid.
Extraordinary. Very moist, chewy. Can't quite describe the flavor, but
Those are telling moments, right?
let's try this. 2 billion people in the world eat bugs, and I'm one of them.
2 billion people in the world eat bugs, and I'm one of them. And the way she's saying it is, I'm not being articulate, but there's just so much behind that statement. And also just because 2 billion people in the world eat bugs, which is probably China, doesn't exactly mean, again, it's dignified. Chinese Communist Party has a boot on their citizens' faces. You're not supposed to be eating this shit.
Here we have, oh, crickets. Oh, nothing. Oh. Like a hairy nut. For dessert.
This one is entertaining to me just because I don't think she's selling it, thankfully.
The fried grasshopper. These are amazing.
Well, I didn't know that I could have become very rich when I moved to Texas, because when I bought this raw jungle forest and I moved straight into it without knowing a thing about it, the first year I had these grasshoppers called lubers that attacked my land by biblical proportions. It was so bad that I closed my eyes to take a nap, looking at the beautiful oak trees, and then I opened my eyes about a couple hours later, and 70% of the leaves were gone. So these suckers came in, and as I looked at the tree, I'll try to find the footage and put it here, they were just like climbing the tree by just such big proportions. And I don't think I actually recorded it when it was massive, because I started panicking and trying to figure out how to get rid of them. But apparently, I didn't know better. I could have become rich, sold it to somebody who wants to eat it. But yeah, this is the world we live in. I mean, it's in games, it's in our lives, and the future generation is probably growing up thinking this is all normal, and they will have probably no issues with eating crap while the billionaires eat the top cuts of beef and whatever, while advocating how cows are killing the planet. This is why I actually made this shirt. It says, it's obviously ones and zeros, but it's from Westworld. I took the quotes from Westworld. It says, "Who am I? Where am I? When am I?" Because it's getting really hard to understand what the F is going on in the world. I mean, it's not hard to understand. It's just, I don't understand how isn't this crystal clear to just about every human. That's the part I don't understand. But yeah. Okay, that's a wrap for this video.